Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of this thing called life. Life's wild. Let's talk about it. Let's start. Hi, everyone. I apologize for the delay. There's just been a lot going on. But I'm super excited for another episode. I'm excited that you guys keep coming back. So thank you. Thank you for watching. I really, truly hope that you have been impacted, that you are getting something out of these episodes. I am excited that it's finally spring and we can finally wear short sleeves and shorts and all the fun things, because cold winter is not fun. And speaking of cold and winter, I'm going to be talking about wilderness and the wilderness season and breakthrough. And so I think that the wilderness, when you think about wilderness, like, what do you think of? Sometimes I think of like literally wilderness and like being amongst trees and like wildlife, but wilderness is really more like desert and barren, right? It's like a place that doesn't sound very fun. Unless you like nature, and so then you might enjoy it. But here we're talking about I'm talking about the wilderness periods of our lives, like where we feel like nothing is happening and it's super dry and it's hard and we're having just a time of barrenness. And so I was thinking about that, and I was thinking about how a lot of us, and especially in our culture right now, and like maybe our friends or family members or ourselves are feeling like we are in this wilderness period where we haven't had any breakthrough, where it's been very dry. And we're kind of like, what is going on? Like, why am I still here? Why am I in this place that there is no hope? There's no joy. There's no life. The crazy thing is that in order for there to be life, there needs to be death. And so there needs to be a season of just dying and just being crushed in a sense. And then therefore new life comes in. So we were just in winter, right? And now we're coming into spring and new life is coming out. New life is blossoming, literally outside of our houses. You look around and there's flowers and trees and things are sprouting, and it's so exciting because when we see spring, we think new life. So the wilderness. I am definitely a person who knows about wilderness. If you've heard any of the other episodes, you would know. And the wilderness period for me was tough, and I've been through it like many times. I feel like little times and little periods and little glimpses of like wilderness. I was actually going through this app that I use to like read the Bible on, and I was looking at like the different devotionals I have done in my life, and a lot of them were like, it was a similar theme, like waiting on God and like trusting God and finding joy in the trials. And I'm like, wow, okay. So this is a pattern for me. But I think it's a pattern for all of us. I think it's a pattern for human beings. We go through ups and downs. And it's so funny because when I was thinking about this podcast before its conception, I was thinking about life, and I remember I was telling my friend, like, oh, I'm just like so tired of it. Like, I'm so tired of the highs and the lows. And she was like, but that's life. Like, that's how it is. It's high when it's high and it's low when it's low. And sometimes I have to like really, really like sit with that and remember that. And I think we're just so trained, and we lived for so long in like this Disney land, La La Land, where we literally thought everything was butterflies and rainbows and beautiful and great and fantastic and never a bad day and never a sad day. And that's not true. That's not reality. That's not life. And yeah, and we have to remember that. I think we have to be brought back from our little like delusion and like remember life and remember like, okay, again, you have a relationship with Jesus, you know who he is. So connecting that, putting that together and reminding yourself that like, yeah, I have a God, I have a Father, I have Jesus who's with me in this time of wilderness, in this barrenness. And so I wanted to bring up this devotional that was sent to me, and it's talking about seasons of breakthrough. And it says seasons of breakthrough are exciting, but sometimes that breakthrough is a direct result of stepping into uncharted territories. It can be nerve-wracking if your focus isn't on the Lord. Fear will attempt to hold you back by reminding you of past failures or disappointments and fighting to keep you from forging ahead. But once the Lord confirms his will, don't let anything stop you. So I thought that was really good. I was like, yeah, we are in this period of wilderness. We are in this period of drought, and we allow our past, we allow the enemy to speak to us and to stop us from going forward, especially when we know, or sometimes we don't know, that God has like such a purpose for us and has something so much greater on the other side, but we can't see past our little desert. We can't see. We're so hopeless and we're so sad and we're maybe even mad. Like, why am I in this place? And it's so hard. I know it's hard. I know so many people, and I know even myself have been through really hard things. And it's just like, you can't even imagine. You can't even imagine it getting better because it's been so hard, because it's been so dry. Like, you've been in such a drought that it's like, there's no way, like, rain, where's the rain? You know, if you have heard the news or live in California or are from California or anything, you know that California was considered to be in a very long drought. And people were like, we need the rain. California needs rain, right? They need the rain because it's so dry and barren and there's all these fires and all this stuff happening. Where is the rain? And the rain wasn't there. And then once they got the rain, then they're like, oh, please have the rain stop. We don't want the rain. So just being funny. But yeah, sometimes it's like we're like that. Like we're like, there is no rain. Where is the rain? Does rain even exist? Is the rain even a thing? And we have to just remember, like, hard times happen. Obviously, we know that. But sometimes when you're just so in it, it's so hard to be hopeful. And it's like, that's where we have to really just come back to the Bible, come back to God, and just like even surround yourself with people that are going to encourage you, people that are going to bring life into you and uplift you and pray for you, because we can't do this life alone. I know I've tried, and it's not the best. It's not the best because you are only surrounded with your own ideas, with your own values, it's just you and your thoughts, and that's not good. That's just, sometimes it leads you to a really bad place, and we really need to be around people that are gonna uplift us and motivate us. But beyond that, like, we should go to God. And I know that some of us, it's like, well, I don't have a relationship with God, so why would I go to God? And it's like, okay, fair. Yeah, I totally get it. Like, I wasn't born with a relationship with God, having a relationship with God. I was a baby, had no clue. But when you seek him out, or when you invite him to come into your life, you get to experience him. And I encourage you to do that, because he really is a just God. And at times, I will be honest, he seems like he's an unfair God and he seems like he's a mean God. But we have to really like look at what's going on and in the context of the Bible, of like the stories that we read, and know that it wasn't so much that God was being mean or angry towards the people. It was more so what they were doing, right? And that's where you have to like really look into that. But a relationship with him is like a relationship with any human. You know, you build it, you have to nourish it, you have to invest in it, you have to like seek him out. Like he'll seek you out, but it's a two-way street. A relationship, it takes two to tango. You know, one person can't just run the relationship, one person can't just speak all the time, one person can't just give all the time. It has to be both of you. And so that's really, really important when walking through your wilderness, is holding on to him, and seeking him, like I said. And if you haven't, I again encourage you to do so. And I don't know, watch YouTube, like open up the Bible and ask him, like be real, like, okay, God, hey, don't know you, but if you'd like to show up, that'd be cool. I'd like to hear from you. And he will. He is so good. And he loves us so much. He wants to show up and be that father to you. And I know it's hard for some of us who like don't have or have never had a relationship with God or had a relationship with an earthly father. It's hard to hear like, oh, he's a father, he's a good father. It's hard to hear that. I can understand that. But you can't disregard it because you don't know it. And you shouldn't be closed to it because you've never experienced it. So I encourage you to just open yourself to him and just be raw with him, be honest, and tell him like, yeah, I want to know you. Like, here I am. And he meets us. He's so good. He meets us where we're at, and he meets us in our mess and in our confusion and in everything. And he's willing to work with us and to get us out of this wilderness. I want to continue reading from this devotional. So this is talking about Jacob. And it says, all Jacob needed to know was that God would go with him. This is what comforts our hearts, knowing that he walks with us. We don't need to know all of the answers or see the future ahead of time. If we know that the King goes with us, this is our blessing. The adventures of faith that few dare to enjoy, the dawn of a new season, running with God into the unknown, means encountering dimensions of his faithfulness that you've never seen. That is so good, because we don't need to know all the answers. And I know as a society that we're always like questioning and we need to know, but why? Why did this happen? Where, who, all of the things. We need to know everything. We need to question. We've been taught we need to question everything and we need to know everything. But that's not true. We don't need to question everything. We don't need to know everything. Is it good to be informed? Absolutely. But I think when we start questioning and picking and trying to get all of this knowledge, I feel like that really messes with us, and that affects a lot of things. It affects so many things. And so this is so good, and it's so true. Like I know that I've had questions, and it's like when I get into those questions, it just leads me into a rabbit hole that leads me nowhere. Like I don't get an answer, and I don't think we'll get answers to certain things. And that's just how it is. But we need to remember, like, we're walking with him by faith. We're walking with him, having faith that he's going to show us, that he's going to reveal to us that whatever path we're going on, he's leading us there. And he has a reason and a purpose behind it. So that's so good. Genesis 46:3 says, don't be afraid to go to Egypt, for I will make your descendants a great nation there. Okay. So another thing I want to talk about, or kind of remind us about, the Israelites being in the wilderness. And I remember this was my dad's like favorite thing to tell me when I was younger. He was like, don't be like the Israelites. Like, don't complain. Don't run away from whatever you're being led to. Don't do it, because you're going to be just like them and you're going to be roaming around for 40 years. And honestly, when I think about my life now, sometimes I wonder, like, did I become like the Israelites? Because I kind of feel like I've been roaming for 40 years. And I've been in this season where I get pockets of life in my wilderness, but it's not a complete oasis. It's not a complete place full of lush life and like plants and flowers and all the beautiful things, greenery. It hasn't been super lush. It's had pockets of lushness, that's for sure. But I was like the Israelites, and I still am like the Israelites sometimes. I do complain. And what happened? The Israelites complained and they languished. They considered moving back to Egypt. They were so unhappy in their time in the wilderness that they were like, take me back to slavery. And I think that's how we are sometimes. We are so like unhappy that we don't see the trees and we don't see the flowers and we don't see the rain, that we're like, yeah, take me back. Take me back to the crap. Like, take me back to the worst conditions ever. I'm okay with being there. I just don't want to be here. And I can totally relate. You know, Israel was left with a choice. Were they going to trust God or were they going to trust man? And they chose to believe the word of man. They chose to trust men. So people, humans, instead of God. And so many times we do that. We were like, yeah, God, I don't know how I feel about you right now. I don't really care what you have to say. Like, look at where we are. We're in this wilderness. You took us out of Egypt where we had like great food. We had homes. We had clothes. I don't know. They had all this stuff, but yet they were enslaved to the Egyptians. So it's like, it wasn't really great. It just seemed a lot better than where they were, right? So God is looking for us to trust him. And you guys know how I feel about trust a little bit. We haven't gotten into that yet. I am going to get into that. But I know that trust is hard. I know that trusting God is hard. I absolutely know it. But that doesn't mean that I'm not going to do it. I'm going to maybe struggle a little bit, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to trust him. I'm going to try to trust him with all that I have. Because I know that his ways are better than mine. And because I know that myself, me leading me, has not put me in the best positions, that I've made choices because of my free will that have put me into circumstances that were not the best, that were not the safest, that were not the wisest. And why? Because I trusted me over God, because I wanted to get myself out of my wilderness. And so I was like, all right, don't worry. You can't handle it, God. I got it. Because I'm such a person who does things. Like, I'm such a mover. Like, I want to fix things, and I want to take control. Let's be honest. I have a control problem. I'm getting better, but control is definitely something that I struggled with, is having that. So in Joshua 7:9, God says, and he repeats himself. So in both verses, he says the same thing. He says, be strong and courageous. He was telling the Israelites that there was going to be opposition, but regardless, they had to be strong and courageous. We have to be strong and courageous. In this period of wilderness, we have to be strong and courageous. We have to remain steadfast, meaning we have to remain consistent and like planted, rooted. When a tree is rooted, it's so hard to uproot that tree. It's very hard because those roots are so strong and they're so like deep in the ground that it's really hard to just pull up. It's not like a weed. So we need to be like that. We literally need to be so firm and so like planted, so rooted that we don't get moved, that we don't get shaken, that we know that God is going to get us out of the wilderness. And while we're in the wilderness, we need to enjoy that time. And I know it's hard. I know it's hard to enjoy the uncomfortable, to enjoy the hard things that come at us. I absolutely, number one here, who will say I don't enjoy it and I complain, and I've been called a complainer many times. And I've even like defended myself and said, no, I'm not complaining. I'm fine. Like, I'm not complaining. But that's not true. I was complaining. And I was almost kicking and screaming. And I've done that. I have had words with God. I have. And because I've been like so upset or confused, like, why am I going through this? Why is this happening to me? Something that we need to remember is, instead of seeing it like that, like, why is this happening to me? Like, why am I in this situation? Or how can I grow from this situation? What is happening with the situation? Not so much that it's happening to me. It's that it's happening and I get to be a part of it. So when you look at the Bible, you see that there was people, not just the Israelites, that were faced with impossible situations. They were in their wilderness period. And how did they react? How did they choose to continue to move forward? That's something that we have to examine, and we have to examine our hearts. Like, how do I want to continue moving forward in these hard times? And like I said, like, having people around you is so important. Having a community is so, so important. It's not even funny. I have mentioned before, I think, that I had a group of friends. I still have those friends. They're still my friends. I love them. They're my sisters. And we have a very strong community, even though we're in total different places in our lives, and even geographically we're in total different places. We still have that relationship. And although it's not the same, we're on different levels and different stages of life, that it's a little different, but we still have, at the core, we still have that friendship. And it's just so important to have that. And we're all in different walks right now. We're all going through our own different things in our own relationships with God. And I think it's important to talk about those things, because we all go through those seasons. We all go through different seasons, and we all go through different stages in our relationship with God. And it's okay. Like, that's how life goes. And that's how the people in the Bible were. That's exactly how the Israelites were. They were literally on a roller coaster with God. They were like, I hate you, I love you. I hate you, I love you. Like that one song that was very, very popular at one time. If you know, you know. I hate you, but I love you. I hate that I love you. I don't know, I'm probably saying it wrong. But it was a fun song. Anyway, that's exactly how they were. And I can relate. I was definitely like that. I was like hot and cold with God. Like, I love you. I hate you. Oh my gosh. Like, what are you doing to me? You're ruining my life. And that's the key. My life. I was concerned about me and my desires, and all about me. It was literally all about me. And I had, again, lost focus of him and his plan and what he wants, and what is his purpose? Like, what does he want me for? Why did he bring me onto this earth? It wasn't just to like give me everything I wanted. That's not why I'm here. So we have to consider that and think about that. And I encourage you to think about that. Set some time apart and think like, okay, am I in my wilderness period? Why am I here? What's going to happen moving forward? What are you up to, God? Like, I'm here in this wilderness period for something, because he's preparing you to take you out of the wilderness to take you to where? The promised land. That's where the Israelites were going. The Egyptians did come and follow. They were following them. But that's where God was taking them, to the promised land. But they had to go through the wilderness period to get there. So if you are in your wilderness period, I encourage you to just hold on to God, seek him, find him, ask him, like, come, please come, show yourself to me, speak to me. And he will. He does it in different ways. Like, everyone's relationship with him is so different. Sometimes he speaks to me through nature. Sometimes he speaks to me through people. Sometimes literally I'll get a message or I'll hear something. That's how I get spoken to. I know other people that get spoken to through signs. I know people that get spoken to that literally maybe hear his voice, have dreams. They'll have dreams and they know it's God speaking to them. So he'll speak to you in whatever way you will understand that it's him. So it's you. It's your relationship with him. And that's the beauty of it. That he's such a personable God. Like he cares about you. He cares about your love, your love for things, your dislikes. He cares about all of that. It's important to him. So I hope that you know that you will get out of the wilderness and you will enter the promised land. But during your time in the wilderness, hold on to him, seek him with your whole heart, and look for that community. And sometimes there's a season in our wilderness where we're called to not be up in the mix and like with everybody. Like sometimes you do have to be alone with just you and God and just hearing from him and not having so many outside voices come into play, you know? I know that he's definitely done that with me, where community is good, like I said. Sometimes we just need him. So I encourage you, I hope and pray that this touched you, that you know that there's a beautiful river on the other side of this wilderness, a beautiful place where not that it's going to be perfect, not that it's going to be rainbows and butterflies, but it's going to be a better place, a happier place. You are going to have trials. You are going to have tribulations. We are told that. And we live that every day. Like I said in the beginning, like life is literally ups and downs. So I hope that you hold on to that you remember that he is near you, that he is with you. He doesn't leave you, even though it feels like he's not there. I get it. He's there. Sometimes he's just silent, but he's there. So I hope that you have an amazing week. I hope that you have an amazing day and that you are encouraged and that this resonated with you and hopefully brought you some insight, some clarity. Yeah. And if you have comments, questions, concerns, leave them. Let us know. I hope you guys have a good week. Talk to you soon.